Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephania Cox. Vice President Kamala Harris chooses a running mate. Find out more about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, lawmakers' reactions, and what he brings to the campaign. The Chinese national is arrested for trespassing at Mar-a-Largo. Why he says he tried to enter former President Trump's home. Elon Musk's social media platform X sues a group of advertisers. Find out what the company is alleging. A Chinese academic is convicted of illegally acting as a foreign agent in the United States for spying on New York-based activists supporting democracy in China. A small plane crash lands onto a golf course in Sacramento, California. Video footage captures the accident and miraculous survival. Kamala Harris has chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. Harris announced the selection in a text message to supporters. She called Walz, quote, a battle-tested leader who has an incredible track record of getting things done for Minnesota families. Here's what we know about Walz and his policies. The 60-year-old has been governor of Minnesota since 2019 and is head of the Democratic Governors Association. He's an Army National Guard veteran and former high school teacher and football coach. He also served as a Democrat in the House for 12 years, beginning in 2007. As governor, Walz has spearheaded a plan for universal free school meals and pushed for 100% carbon-free electricity in the state by 2040. He's expanded paid leave for workers and restored voting rights to 55,000 convicted felons. He also signed a bill to enshrine abortion access into state law. After the death of George Floyd, Republicans criticized Walz over their response to protests, saying he was too slow to prevent destruction and rioting. Walz will join Harris this evening at a rally in Philadelphia. And congressional leaders react to Kamala Harris's choice for a running mate. The Minnesota governor and former lawmaker has received immediate support from Democrats on the Hill. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has more on this story.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer posted on social media this Tuesday morning that Governor of Minnesota Tim Walz was a great choice. Schumer also added that, and I quote, there is no doubt that the Harris-Walz ticket will lead us to victory in November and build a future Americans can be proud of, end of quote. On the House side, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also took to social media to show his enthusiasm. According to Jeffries, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will lead America into a brighter future for everyone. More progressive voices on Capitol Hill also took to social media on Tuesday to show their support for Vice President Kamala Harris's vice presidential nominee. Representative Ilhan Omar, the Democrat from Minnesota's 5th District, praised Governor Walz's policies on universal school meals, marijuana legalization, and protection to access to abortions. Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, praised Tim Walz for his background as a school teacher and a strong supporter of labor unions, and that he would be a great asset to the Harris administration.
So excited today. 1 month ago, it looked like Democrats were going to lose in a landslide, probably lose the Senate, not recapture the House. And it was like a funereal culture in Washington. Turn up the clock to now, and it is extraordinary what is going on. And I am excited. Tim Walz is a gentleman, competent, common sense, school teacher, National Guardsman, and someone who just is a decent, outstanding guy.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson also posted on social media and called the Harris-Walz ticket the most radical left-wing ticket in American history. Speaker Johnson also said he looks forward to highlighting the vast differences between their policies and the America First agenda. It's important to note that Governor Tim Walz was a U.S. congressman for 12 years before becoming governor of Minnesota. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And a delay in one of the court cases against former President Trump. The judge in Trump's New York criminal case is moving back the decision date on the presidential immunity ruling. Judge Juan Merchan rescheduled the immunity ruling for September 16th. That's just 2 days before Trump's scheduled sentencing. Trump was found guilty for falsifying business records related to a payment to an adult film actress. At issue now is whether the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling impacts the case. The reason for the delay is because Trump's lawyers a week ago asked for a third time for Judge Merchan to recuse himself. They argue that his daughter, who's working for the Harris campaign, raises questions about his ability to be impartial, the judge's ability. Merchan threw out the first two requests, calling them unsupported speculation. However, now that VP Harris is the Democratic nominee for president, Trump's legal team is trying again. And next, a Chinese national accused of trespassing at former President Trump's Mar-a-Largo estate is being held by police. Investigators say the 38-year-old man made several attempts to enter Trump's Florida home. According to a report by the Orange County Register in California, Li allegedly tried to enter the residence the first time on July 19th. He told Secret Service agents he had documents about China's involvement in the assassination attempt on Trump. On July 30th, he was turned away in a second attempt with a warning to stay away. A day later, Li tried to enter Mar-a-Lago a third time. Palm Beach police arrested him outside of the security zone and charged him with trespassing. Li has pleaded not guilty to the charge and remains in jail. And Elon Musk's social media platform X is suing a group of advertisers. The company alleges that a massive advertiser boycott deprived the company of billions of dollars in revenue and violated antitrust laws. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest on the lawsuit.
X, formerly known as Twitter, filed a federal lawsuit on Tuesday against the World Federation of Advertisers. X CEO Linda Yaccarino cited evidence uncovered by the House Judiciary Committee. The lawmakers held a hearing last month to determine if current laws are sufficient to deter anti-competitive collusion in online advertising. Member companies named in the suit include Unilever, Mars, CVS Health, and Orsted.
They conspired to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future. That puts your global town square, the one place that you can express yourself freely and openly, at long-term risk.
X alleges that the advertising group's Global Alliance for Responsible Media initiative helped to coordinate a pause in advertising on the platform. Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion in late 2022 and overhauled its staff and policies. The tech titan posted about the lawsuit on X, saying, quote, "We tried peace for 2 years. Now it is war." Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And turning our attention now to the Middle East. More cross-border fire between Israel and Hezbollah today. The region awaits Hezbollah's retaliatory strike for the killing of its senior-most military commander. NTD's Fiona G has the latest updates.
Hezbollah's senior military commander said Tuesday that Hezbollah, Iran, and the Houthis had agreed to respond to the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. He said retaliation won't happen quickly, but will be well planned out, and that the uncertainty of the wait is part of its psychological warfare. This is in addition to the promised retaliation for the death of a Hezbollah leader. Minutes before the address, Israeli warplanes swooped low over the Lebanese capital of Beirut, setting off a series of sonic booms that rattled windows across the city. Reports indicate that 7 personnel were injured in a rocket attack Monday on a U.S. base in Iraq. All 7 are said to be in stable condition. It's still unclear who launched the attack, but more details are expected to come out. The Iraqi military condemned the attack as reckless. Hezbollah launched drone attacks Tuesday, targeting military sites in northern Israel. Reports say 7 people were wounded. Several civilians were also wounded in Israel by a misfired Israeli interceptor missile. On the same day, an Israeli airstrike hit Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Lebanon's health ministry said the strike killed 5 people. The Lebanese foreign minister said that the Lebanese government is attempting to de-escalate the situation with Hezbollah, but that the situation has now become, quote, bigger than Lebanon. The secretary of Russia's Security Council visited Tehran and spoke with the Iranian president Monday. He highlighted the close alliance between Iran and Russia. Iran has been requesting and receiving advanced Russian air defense technologies. Fiona G, NTD News.
And the United States and Australia are working together to counter misinformation from other countries. Today, they signed the Countering Foreign State Information Manipulation Memorandum. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the spread of misinformation poses a threat across the Indo-Pacific. Blinken added that the agreement will help the two countries work together even more effectively to combat the problem. Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong welcomed the partnership as well. Australia is the 20th country to sign such an agreement with the U.S. Other partners include countries in Europe, Africa, East Asia, and elsewhere. The ceremony took place in Washington, D.C. ahead of today's Australia-U.S. ministerial consultations. Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin will host the Osmond discussions in Annapolis, Maryland. And a Chinese academic was convicted today of illegally acting as a foreign agent in the United States. The defendant has been accused of collecting information about New York-based activists supporting democracy in China. A jury found Wang Shujun guilty on 4 counts, including lying to U.S. authorities. Federal prosecutors said Wang portrayed himself as a fierce opponent of the ruling Chinese Communist Party. The naturalized U.S. citizen attempted to gain the trust of Hong Kong pro-democracy activists, advocates for Taiwan, and supporters of Uyghurs and Tibet. Prosecutors allege that Wang was actually spying on the activists and sharing his findings with China's Ministry of State Security. 4 Chinese intelligence officers who allegedly acted as Wang's handlers have also been charged but remain at large. In a sad case out of Michigan, today a man pleaded no contest in the shooting death of his 5-year-old grandson. The conviction is among the first under the state's new gun laws. Investigators say Braxton Dykstra was killed in April by a 6-year-old cousin using a loaded, unlocked shotgun he found in Carl Robart's home. Under Michigan's new gun storage law, firearms must be locked up when children are present. Robart faces anywhere between 19 months to 3 years in prison when he's sentenced in October. In Michigan, pleading no contest doesn't admit guilt, but it is treated as a conviction for sentencing purposes. And next, Tropical Storm Debbie is moving northeast over Georgia, posing a significant risk of flooding and storm surges for the southeastern United States in the coming days. NTD's Christina Corona gives us the latest update on the storm.
The National Hurricane Center warned of catastrophic flooding in eastern Georgia, the South Carolina coastal plain, and southeastern North Carolina. Tropical Storm Debbie is expected to move from southeastern Georgia Tuesday morning and head off the coast Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. Historic rainfall is anticipated, with some areas receiving 10 to 20 inches and potentially up to 30 inches in certain locations. Residents have already been advised to evacuate due to the risk of a dam failure in Colleton County, South Carolina. And residents in Tybee, Georgia are already preparing for the heavy flooding.
We've been providing sandbags for our residents since last Saturday, and we have been cleaning out our storm drains and preparing our water treatment facility, lowering the levels to handle the storm runoff.
On Tuesday morning, Governor Ron DeSantis spoke from Steinhatchee, Florida, where Hurricane Debbie made landfall as a Category 1 storm on Monday. He mentioned 110,600 Floridians are left without power, and the Florida Small Business Emergency Loan Bridge Program has been activated for those in need.
We have $10 million available for businesses that have been impacted by Hurricane Debbie. This gives immediate cash on hand needed to make repairs, keep employees on payroll until additional resources can be secured.
As of Tuesday morning, at least 6 deaths have been confirmed due to Tropical Storm Debbie, 5 in Florida and 1 in Georgia. Christina Corona, NTD News.
When we come back, several Olympic athletes have been complaining about swimming contests in Paris's river. Despite explanations from the games organizers, concerns over water quality remain. And a small plane crash lands onto a golf course in Sacramento, California. Video footage captures the accident and miraculous survival. That and more after the break.
Did you know indoor air quality can be 5 to even 100 times worse than outdoors? Meet the Air Doctor. It's your answer for clean air and the only hospital-grade air purifier equipped with advanced ultra HEPA filters, proven to improve your indoor air quality and overall health. Air Doctor circulates and triple filters the air in your room up to 5 times per hour. Say goodbye to pollen, smoke, mold spores, pet dander, even viruses, because the Ultra HEPA filter removes virtually 100% of dangerous contaminants down to 0.003 microns. That's 100 times smaller filtration than ordinary HEPA purifiers. This would have been in your lungs. Finally, get relief from allergies and asthma and reduce airborne disease.
It's pulling the pollutants out. It's even pulling the toxic chemicals that our cleaning products leave behind.
Call or go to tryair.40.com now. Get 40% off our best-selling air purifier.
Call 1-800-876-0163. Call now.
We are only 80 years removed from countries that killed 60 to 70 million people intentionally. And we have people being like, oh, it can't happen here. Yeah, it can, and it might.
These people, they're not interested in the facts. They're not interested in anything except crushing people that are in their way.
There needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
A strong church can stop this.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
And welcome back. A small plane crash landed onto a golf course in Sacramento, California on Sunday. Fortunately, the pilot survived. The bleachers outside the pro shop helped absorb the impact of the crash. According to the Sacramento Fire Department, the pilot had taken off from nearby McClellan Air Force Base before suffering a complete mechanical failure. The aircraft narrowly missed a bystander, but no one was on the ground was injured. The pilot only suffered minor cuts. Crews cleaned up fuel that had leaked from the aircraft. The golf course was closed for the rest of the day, but has since reopened. And federal regulators speak with Boeing workers, and U.S. households are rising in debt. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's Business Matters.
Thank you, Steph. Workers paint a picture of chaos and dysfunction at Boeing. They told federal safety investigators that they felt pressured to do their jobs too fast to avoid mistakes. And this is according to testimony released Tuesday at the start of a two-day investigative hearing. Investigators today questioned Boeing personnel about safety issues at the plane maker and what that might mean for passengers on its ubiquitous planes. Previously, the NTSB said the door plug ripped off in mid-flight because the plane left a Boeing factory without the 4 bolts needed to keep the door plug in place. One transcript showed that a Boeing employee identified as a door master lead told investigators their planes required much of the work during the assembly process to be redone because of problems that are discovered, as happened with the door plug that was removed to fix some rivets. The worker said there was no special training to open, close, or remove a door plug versus a regular door. Meanwhile, American households keep piling on more debt. That's according to data released by the New York Federal Reserve on Tuesday. Last quarter, U.S. households added $109 billion in debt. That brings the total amount of debt to a record $17.8 trillion. The majority of last quarter's uptick in household debt came from a $77 billion increase in mortgage balances. Another $27 billion came from the increase in credit card debt. This comes as high interest rates continue to stress borrowers. Last week, the Federal Reserve announced its decision to keep interest rates at current levels. A cut would have paved the way for lower borrowing costs on everything from mortgages and car loans to credit cards. Back to you, Steph.
And in Paris, recent issues with the River Seine's water quality is sparking a mix of reactions. Some athletes have criticized the decision to forge ahead with holding competitions in the river over safety concerns, while Olympic organizers say the water is safe to swim in. NTD's international correspondent David Vivez has that story.
Belgian athlete Claire Michel has been hospitalized for days with E. coli bacteria infection after swimming in the Seine last week. Other athletes who swam in the water also complained, with one allegedly vomiting 10 times in a row. Water tests from the time of the competition show acceptable levels of bacteria that should be harmless to athletes, and no direct link between the water quality and the illnesses has been confirmed so far. But this has not been enough to cast away doubts on the decision to hold the contest in the Paris River.
I think, if they cannot say that the water is good enough, then I think that it should be cancelled or done in another way or in another place, but yeah.
I think they could have invested more into having clean water. It seems like they kind of were just hoping for the best, and no, the athletes are going to do it because it's the Olympics. So
Paris 2024 organizers have assured that they're taking the issue seriously, noting that heavy rainfall caused a temporary spike in bacterial levels. An initial report last Saturday found the Seine River's water quality was below acceptable on E. coli levels. The organizers cancelled the swimming training session for the triathlon mixed relay last Sunday. Despite the Paris City Hall promising to allow Parisians to bathe in the Seine, many of them still doubt the quality of the water.
I don't really want to say it, but I guess next year this will be safe, so maybe I'll bathe in the Seine next year, but not this year.
Even if I had no negative feedback from the athletes, I would still have been scared. And I would wait a bit to see Emmanuel Macron swimming like he said he would. That could reassure me.
Significant investments in the city's sanitation infrastructure are being made, with the hope of achieving water quality that meets safety standards by next summer. David Vivez, NTD News, Paris.
And back in the U.S., the federal government is investing $2.2 billion to revamp the nation's power grid. The funding will go toward protecting the grid from growing threats. The U.S. government has been working to overhaul the country's electric transmission system. The grid is under pressure due to increased power demand from growing number of power-hungry data centers, as well as weather events. The planned upgrades to the grid would add nearly 13 gigawatts of capacity. According to the Department of Energy, the funding will also allow for increased manufacturing, more data centers, and improved transmission of renewable power. The investment will support 8 projects across 18 states. And early this morning, the Northrop Grumman Cygnus NG-21 successfully docked at the International Space Station. The cargo spacecraft delivered over 8,000 pounds of equipment and supplies for scientific experiments. The Cygnus spacecraft launched aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket on Sunday. NASA oversaw the docking. The mission is supporting various scientific investigations, including studies on microgravity's effects on human cells and fire behavior in space. The Cygnus will remain attached to the International Space Station for several months. The spacecraft will then depart with disposable cargo for re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. And next, we explore an educational philosophy transforming young lives for over a century. Developed by Italian physician and educator Maria Montessori, the Montessori method emphasizes hands-on learning, self-directed activity, and collaborative play. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with the head of Community Montessori School in Lexington, Kentucky, about how their school works.
Maria Montessori, born in 1870, revolutionized early childhood education through her innovative approach. Working with children in Rome's slums, she discovered their immense potential when provided with nurturing environments. Nelson Griffin is the head of Community Montessori School in Lexington, Kentucky. He says the Montessori environment fosters teamwork.
Elementary children naturally want to work together. They're at a very social age. So while they have individual work plans, they are encouraged and all of their lessons are given in group settings, no more than 2 to 4 children at a time.
Griffin says the materials themselves guide the learning process.
So if they're doing math, for instance, they have charts where they can check themselves and check their own work, as opposed to an adult saying, you got this right, you got this wrong.
Children are encouraged to follow their interests, using topics like animals to explore multiple subjects.
You can do a language project based on the research of that animal. Then you can do statistics with that, which is mathematics. Then you can learn about the environment in which that animal learns. So
the school emphasizes experiential learning, utilizing their 13-acre campus for nature education.
We use it as a way to teach the children about nature and to appreciate nature. We have a full labyrinth, so we practice different mindfulness techniques to really kind of incorporate the whole learning for the child, like in all the dimensions, not just the academic.
Griffin says students take real-world skills from their projects.
And when they do their trip at the end of the year, they have to put together the budget for it. They have to research where they want to go, and they have an exchange program where they actually grow vegetables and sell chicken eggs and things from our farm here to make money, and do other fundraising skills to try to make money for their trip. And they have to learn how to budget and how much these things cost, and they have to do a lot of the contact work on different projects.
Reflecting on the school's impact, Griffin notes the lasting connection of former students.
We had like 4 or 5 kids that graduated that are high schoolers come back, and they just wanted to work on the land. They wanted to mow the grass. They wanted to do some farming. They wanted to see the younger children. And I think for me, that's a success, to have children that leave here and then want to come back and be a part of that.
As the Community Montessori School in Lexington, Kentucky celebrates its 55th year, the intergenerational connections continue to grow. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, now Vice President Kamala Harris's official VP pick, has arrived in Philadelphia to appear with Vice President Kamala Harris tonight. Ahead of their debut rally, Senator J.D. Vance was also campaigning in the same area. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao, who's at Harris's event. Good afternoon to you, Iris. What's the latest there on the ground?
Good afternoon to you, Steph. So at around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris and her new VP pick, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, will be here making their first campaign rally debut at Temple University in Philadelphia. And this will be their first stop in their 7-stage swing this week across all different battleground states in the U.S. And meanwhile, Harris, in announcing Tim Walz as her VP pick this morning, praised him for his record and for working for the working class Americans, as well as his record in supporting abortion and gun control measures. And President Biden, in a statement also this afternoon, praised Walz for being a strong, principled, and effective leader, saying the Harris-Walz ticket will be, quote, a powerful voice for working people in America's great middle class. Meanwhile, while Walz is not from a battleground state like Pennsylvania, Governor Josh Shapiro, he is from a Midwest state of Minnesota, and that could help bring in votes from neighboring states, for example, like Wisconsin and Michigan. And just this afternoon, he released a new ad talking about his own roots. Watch.
Sometimes life is as much about the lessons you learn as the lessons you teach. When I grew up, community was a way of life. My high school class was 24 people. I was related to half of them. I learned to be generous towards my neighbors, compromise without compromising my values, and work for the common good.
Earlier today, former President Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, was also here in Philadelphia campaigning, doing counter-programming to tonight's event. And he was saying how he called Governor Walz this morning to congratulate him and would be willing to debate him once he becomes the official Democratic nominee for vice president. And I asked Senator J.D. Vance about what his message would be to voters in swing states that would like to see less division and what his strategy is like, and going to every single battleground state that Harris will be traveling to this week.
My message to voters who want to see less division, look, I want to see less division as well, but division starts at the top. And you saw Donald Trump, who took a bullet 2 weeks ago and called for national calm and unity. That is the kind of unifying message that we need in this country. So I'm going to go to every single battleground state that I can. I'm going to answer tough questions. I'm going to talk to people.
Meanwhile, tonight there's a lot to watch for, especially as, according to a poll last week by PBS, NPR, and Marist, about 70% of Americans actually do not really know who Governor Tim Walz is. So tonight will be a very important debut for him, addressing a national audience for the first time in this election. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Iris. I know you'll be back on tonight for more updates. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephania Cox. We'll have more stories from the U.S. and around the world. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.